But I think the whole Great Resignation thing is interesting because I don't think we have the right tools in place to measure what's happening with the job market, because the economy is doing well, but there's millions, however many, 100 million people left, or 10 million people left. And then on the flip
side, if we've had this Great Resignation, but commerce didn't stop.
Right.
So how valuable were those jobs to begin with?
Right. I just think that work is becoming something different. I think it's with the remote worker, it's becoming decentralized work. Right. And what I mean by that is what we were just talking about. So you can work virtually and work remote, work from home. Right. But you also now can sell your goods as an NFT and get paid in perpetuity. So, and there's lots of other ways you can get paid virtually, right? That people are maybe, wherever you stand on that moral spectrum, but they're there. So I think people are chasing their own interests.
But, part of me too thinks that we're cutting out a huge part of society. The people, we have the creators for the art world, and we have the music that it's touching right now. And then it goes back to, what's going on to the manufacturers that actually creating a physical product that we use and need in our daily life? How can this technology impact them positively? Take a look at, I think, what's going on in society right now is the war of the working class, because, for the most part now I can perform my job function anywhere. So COVID didn't impact me to the extent it's impact and
people have to put their hands on a Well, I think that they're automating a lot of that, right? The workforce that are actually putting their hands on manufacturing
truck drivers.
Things. That's true.
We have more on the road now. You have so much commerce. You have delivery. So,
and they're real close on autonomous vehicles for that. They have them, but in terms of timeline rolling it out, I don't know what's
not going away anytime soon.
But truckers are very much needed.
But, you still, no matter what, we talked about assembly line of manufacturing, you're still going to need people behind working on that equipment. We still have.
Correct. Yeah. I just think it already is changing rapidly, but I think the way we work and how we approach work is going to change completely, away from how we've always traditionally looked at work. And I think the NFT gives us a mechanism for people to take their work into their own hands. So if I'm disgruntled with my boss and I want to start my own business, quote unquote, well, if I do the research and I understand how it works, and there's a bell curve here too of early adopters, and we're very in the early stage of all of this, and people are trying to understand it. But once you have some tests or use cases about how you can work in the new world with an NFT, I think people are going to start adopting that more regularly, and we go away from the old school full-time, the FTE, right? And I'm not saying that all of them go away, because I think there's a large group of people that are going to be needed to put hands on certain things. There's expertise that's going to have to switch too. Instead of trade school for these type of jobs, it's going to be trade school for these kind of jobs, which are, like you were saying, the man or woman putting their hands on that piece of machine. That is the automated process for how something's created. So I think that there's a lot of that, the hands-on stuff that's still going to have to happen. But I think, I just think that, people are leaving full-time jobs for one reason or another. I think they're seeking, the younger generations, especially, they're seeking these, this sort of hashtag van life,
fulfillment,
right? And fulfillment in different ways. And they're able to get it because they can build a small community of people who will buy $3,000 a month worth of stuff from them. And that's plenty for them to live on, because they're not trying to live outside of that means. Right. So therefore they're fulfilled. They're in their learning, they're growing personally, they're doing all these things, and they may not be making, or maybe they are making what they made before, but
I think
they're living their life.
Realize that, the work they're providing didn't have any value. You're way better off if you're actually creating a work boot, or, you can have value into that, but if you're sitting in an office space and maybe you're creating just redundant software over and over again.
Or you're just working
not fulfilling.
Working on spreadsheets. There's people who love spreadsheets. I'm not one of them, but for me, I sit and work on spreadsheets every day like that. I don't see how I'm providing value for myself or for my company. And I think a lot of times there is a lot of riffraff that happens at work.
Well, I think
for the full-time person.
Well, I think a lot of industries, every industry too. I mean, I see, LinkedIn, and you see job openings, and you just see these, and you run a small business, and I see these newly created roles, and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? We now are going to pay a 6-figure salary for that role. How is there enough time in the day that is needed to fulfill that?
Exactly. It's not efficient.
No.
Right.
So
but when you go do your own thing, back to the NFT, you are being efficient. You have to be, I mean, and there's impact immediately.
Well, the large companies need to run on efficiency too.
Agreed. 100%.
I think we've just created so many unrewarding, unnecessary, unfulfilled roles, and people create extra work because they think that work is fulfillment too. Like if I'm busy, then I'm fulfilled, and being busy is to me. I last thing I want to do is be busy.
I like the one-to-one impact, right? I want to do as little as possible and get as much impact.
Absolutely.